Dead in Hollywood.
You're watching Dead in England. Today we're going underground on a tour of the Hellfire Caves. We'll delve deep into the origins of this chalk cavern before heading uphill to the Globe Tavern, the crowning jewel of St. Lawrence's Church, the Golden Ball. This spectacular site hosted the above and below ground meetings of the Hellfire Club. No, not that Hellfire Club, this Hellfire Club.
The road from West Wycombe to High Wycombe was a deeply rutted lane, which in bad weather became almost impassable. There were instances of carriages overturning. West Wycombe village remains virtually unaltered to this day.
I had never been to the Hellfire Caves. It's always been this mysterious place to me, with its history of satanic rituals, worship, murder, orgies, and sacrifice. It's a little wonder that this location is considered to be one of the most haunted places in England. As we made our way up the hillside towards the mouth of the caves, my sister-in-law Georgia told me about the unwritten rules of the caves, and warned me about the spirits that are said to haunt its darkest passageways. I was more worried about my claustrophobia getting the best of me than anything else.
This old town can't find my way around, can't find my way at all.
Excavated in the mid-1700s, the Hellfire Caves were the work of legendary rake and co-founder of the Hellfire Club, Sir Francis Dashwood.
I'm standing outside the gates to the Hellfire Caves in West Wycombe, England. The supposedly haunted caves sit directly under the Golden Ball. Let's go check them out.
The cave entrance, designed to resemble a ruined Gothic church, gives it a rather sinister appearance.
And continue our journey under West Wycombe Hill.
Which way?
Sinner, saint.
Sinner, saint, sinners! Whoa, be careful! I almost fell. Whoa, that's slippery.
A low vaulted passage leads northward deep into West Wycombe Hill. Its cold, damp atmosphere is dominated by an eerie silence, broken only by the occasional drip of moisture from the ceiling. The elaborate cave system, which would serve as a bizarre venue for the Brotherhood met in complete seclusion.
You might recognize the name Hellfire Club from the TV show Stranger Things. Eddie Munson's Dungeons & Dragons Club is named after the Francis Dashwood Club, also known as the Order of the Friars of St. Francis of Wycombe.
Of Sir Francis Dashwood and his future activities, which have intrigued people for over 2 centuries.
Sir Francis, on first sight, seems a conventional figure of the 18th century elite.
I had just returned to West Wycombe from a most invigorating tour of all the principal countries in Europe.
Dashwood spent his youth and early adulthood on grand tours of Europe. It was on one of these trips that he first had the idea of founding a parody Franciscan order to prove the absurdity of the unnatural monastic communities he had visited, and that in his view were in direct contradiction to nature and reason. Dashwood's Hellfire Club, like most of its kind, was exclusive, geared towards high society rakes. A rake was a hellraiser, a cad, a libertine. Dashwood was proudly all three. Dashwood's secret club served as a meeting place for persons of quality who wished to take part in what society perceived as immoral acts. Members were often involved in politics.
It was the less fortunate citizens of this land with neither wit nor purse for such generous pleasures that took exception to our gatherings. They caused certain uproars to be directed against us, which included the dubbing of Hellfire Club upon the Knights of St. Francis of Wycombe.
Dashwood moved his Hellfire Club into the West Wycombe Hills he had excavated. Dashwood's best friend and rumoured lover, Paul Whitehead, was the secretary and steward of the club. When he died in 1775, Dashwood built a mausoleum in his honour, holding a procession, commissioning music, and placing Whitehead's heart in an urn. Dashwood would sometimes take it out to show visitors, but in 1929, the heart was stolen. It's rumoured that Whitehead's ghost wanders the cave in search of his heart. A creepy-looking white-haired mannequin sits near the entrance of the cave, eyeing untrustworthy tourists. Paul Whitehead's spirit isn't the only ghost haunting the Hellfire Caves. The White Lady has been scaring visitors for over 100 years. Suki was a maid who worked at the George & Dragon pub in West Wycombe village. Like everything in England, it's still there today. Suki was attractive and hoped to score a lord or an aristocrat. On a soggy day, a lord passed through the village and stopped for a shoe shine.
What are you?
I told you, I'm a waitress.
Suck it. It's an unusual name, Suck it.
Suki was enamored with his attentions. After he left, Suki prayed that he'd send for her.
Just plain sucky.
A letter arrived at the George & Dragon pub soon after, addressed to Suki. The Lord had fallen for her and wanted to elope with her immediately.
Perhaps you would be so kind as to help me find the owner of this rather remarkable shoe.
She was to wear her finest gown and meet him that night at the Hellfire Caves.
Just breathe.
It is my great privilege to announce the engagement of our son.
Suki put on her mother's white wedding dress and made her way up the hill to the mouth of the cave. A voice from inside the cave called to her, luring her deeper into the tunnels. With only a candle to guide her, Suki followed the voice. The voice led her to the banqueting hall. There, 3 lads stood, laughing at her. They had sent the letter to show her that no lord in his right mind would be interested in a girl like Suki. Suki picked up some small stones from the ground and started pelting the lads. They picked up even bigger stones, striking her in the head. As she hit the ground, her candle went out. The lads ran off, leaving poor Suki to bleed out on the ground of the banqueting hall, taking the last of the light with them. Visitors to the caves have reported seeing the White Lady wandering through the winding tunnels, looking for her lord. The banqueting hall is where the Hellfire Club orgies took place.
Oh, the orgies happen here. Wow. If you're gonna have an orgy, this is the place to have it.
This vast chamber, measuring 40 feet wide and 50 feet high, is a banqueting hall and is the largest man-made chalk cavern in the world. 4 alcoves in the surrounding wall served as cells, possibly for the monks' private devotions.
The members of the Hellfire Club decorated the caves with mythological themes, phallic symbols, and placed items of a sexual nature around the cave. Records indicate that the members performed obscene parodies of religious rites. Members often included mock rituals, items of a pornographic nature, much drinking, orgies, wincing, and banqueting.
We are now entering the inner temple, which terminates the cave system. Access is only possible by crossing the River Styx, which in Sir Francis Dashwood's time was a large stream and could only be crossed by a small boat.
Watch your step.
It was here, 300 feet below the surface of West Wycombe Hill, nearly a quarter of a mile from the cave entrance, that the Brotherhood met in complete seclusion and the village maidens said goodbye to their innocence.
Nobody knows for certain what events took place in the inner temple, as most of the club's records were destroyed, some deliberately, some accidentally. What is striking, although barely visible on the film, is the evidence of steps. Carved in chalk, they ascend, then end abruptly, exist nowhere else in the caves. If these steps continue in a straight line, they would head in the direction of the mausoleum and church. It is a well-known fact that a pagan altar existed on top of West Wycombe Hill, where the church now stands. Under the altar was a pagan catacomb. Then I think it is safe to say that the catacombs were connected to the altar. I am of the opinion that the fragments of steps remaining mark the end of this passage, long since, for some reason or other, blocked.
Let's go this way. We didn't go.
I didn't tell you, but it's bad luck to go opposite where you came.
Is it?
Yeah.
I wonder how deep we are. Oh, so girls go that way?
Yep.
Okay, fine. If we don't see you on the other side, it was nice knowing ya.
That's terrifying.
Ooh.
Our journey takes us past the statue of Benjamin Franklin, who visited the caves in 1772.
When Benjamin Franklin came to town, he'd not only attend gatherings in the caves, but he'd also attend exclusive meetings inside the Golden Ball above St. Lawrence's Church. We made our way back to the entrance of the cave. Next stop was the Golden Ball.
This is Dan Hollywood. Thanks for watching. This is my sister-in-law, Georgia. She's possessed by a demon, and that's a fact. Georgia, what did you think of the Hellfire Caves?
The orgy was amazing.
The audio was amazing. The orgy? The orgy was amazing. She comes here on a monthly basis for the orgy to partake. Okay, let's go check out the Golden Ball. Come on. I'm dying to see this.
As we made our way up the hill to the Golden Ball, we passed the final resting place of the Dashwood family and the mausoleum where Paul Whitehead's heart was once on display. Prominently sitting atop a hill in West Wycombe, the unusually shaped Dashwood Mausoleum is an open-top hexagonal structure. There are arches fitted with wrought iron gates that allow one to look inside. The St. Lawrence churchyard surrounds the mausoleum's exterior with graves dating back to 1583. Walking through the graveyard, I arrived at St. Lawrence's Church, the oldest church in Wycombe, which still holds services today. Singer Tori Amos was married in the church, and I was lucky enough to be a page boy at the church for my parents' wedding when I was just 10 years old. You might recognize the church from the TV series Downton Abbey or the movie Bridget Jones' Baby. In 2019, the funeral for abducted Hull University student Libby Squire was held at St. Lawrence's Church.
It doesn't feel real, it still feels like really surreal. We were talking late last night and
Squire's case gained national attention when she went missing after a night out drinking. Her body was discovered 7 weeks later. What interests me most about St. Lawrence's Church is the Golden Ball. Created during the Age of Enlightenment by Sir Francis Dashwood, the Golden Ball is a far-sighted landmark recalling the old customs house in Venice.
And the memory of this inspired him to build the ball on West Wycombe Church.
The Church of St. Lawrence was crowned with a wooden golden ball covered in gold leaf during renovations by the Dashwood family in 1763.
Charles Churchill described the Church of St. Lawrence as a temple built aloft in air that serves for show and not for prayer.
The reputed meeting place for the Hellfire Club could seat 6 to 10 people and was described by the author John Wilkes as the best globe tavern I was ever in.
It was within its confines that Sir Francis would entertain his associates in complete privacy, drinking a mysterious alcoholic beverage known as the Divine Milk Punch.
You used to be able to go up in the ball, but that hasn't been the case in years. I hoped one day to get to look inside and be transported back in time to when Sir Francis Dashwood and the Hellfire Club were up there. Well, I bet they had a right laugh.
Members of the public used to be able to enter the ball, but in recent years the church has been in crisis amid spiralling running costs and a £1.3 million repair work bill, and just a handful of volunteers now share responsibilities. The church gets no centralised funding, so income comes from individual, regular and one-off donations and fundraising, but this has steadily declined. The Bucks Free Press reported that the Archdeacon of Buckingham, Guy Elsmore, said he hoped the wider community might be able to help them come up with a solution that could save the church from full closure. Let's hope for another chance to climb inside the Golden Ball and be transported back to the days of the Hellfire Club. Thank you for watching. I'm husband to the very creative and illuminating Castroburger of Dead in Hollywood. Simply put, he is simply the best. It's as simple as that. That'll do, pig.
Spiritual activity there with... You alright? Alright. What is it, Barry? You alright? Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick.